winning for me is just, it's just closing that gap. It's a competition with myself more than anything.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 11 of Grit and Grace. An honor, truly an honor to have like your best friend on the podcast and to just have a good conversation. I have a lot I could say, but it's Tyson Fotheringham, two-time Golden Door winner, back-to-back, the most underrated, undervalued. Oh, now he's starting to get a little more talk, a little more clout, but one of the most underrated people in the whole door-to-door space, period. No question. Just frustrates me that he's not talked about more. He deserves way more clout. Sorry, I'm just like now thinking about that, almost getting emotional.
Dude.
Anyways, skydiver, marathon runner, just one of the best, grittiest, most humble, approachable people I know. So thank you.
Dude, pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I agreed to come on, but just a little nervous that Noah's going to make me cry, so.
Oh, it'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
We'll dive.
I'll keep it together.
Yeah, we'll dive into probably some. For people that don't know, like I sold with Tyson. He's the one that actually brought me onto the grit. He's the one that made me want to join the grit. And we were just talking about before the podcast. He made me want to do it because he was himself. He didn't try to close me or give me this sweet sauce of why. I just hung out with him for 3 days in Texas, and I knew that I wanted to sell and be with him. And there's a very few people, it's probably my stubborn pride that I actually look up to, and he's one of them. So, yeah, if you want to just introduce yourself, like where you're from, your family, just kind of like the whole 9 yards.
So my name is Tyson Fotheringham. I've done 2 Golden Doors now, which I'm sure Noah's like talked a little bit about what that is on the podcast.
Oh, we'll get into it.
And yeah, we'll jump into that more. I'm the youngest in my family, 3 older brothers. Always had older brothers beating up on me like my entire life, which super good motivator. It's been awesome. Free time, like to run. It's funny, I always like think of myself as like, I'm just like the most like, I'm an average guy. I'm just like I'm a chill dude, and I'm like really like comfortable being that.
Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of makes your aura, like I think the most unique out of like anyone is just the authenticity and like just the raw, like it's not even like trying to be authentic. You're just, you just choose to be who you are.
Yeah. And that's why it's funny. 'Cause like Noah's talking about like joining the grit and like the process of it. And like I'm a good salesman, especially like on the doors, but when it comes to recruiting, I'm just going to be myself, and like let people sell themselves on this like product, which is like the grit. And like that with Noah is more so the case than like anyone I've ever met. Like Noah's probably the grittiest person I know. He's the hardest worker I know by far. Like, yeah, not even a match with anyone else I've met. So it was just a matter of like being a good friend, and like, Noah did most of the back work on that.
Holy. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think this podcast will be probably the most like normal, just like conversation. I was telling Tyson before the podcast, it's like we already talk so much about deeper subjects, and we always have good conversation continuously.
Yeah.
And even throughout the summer, driving together and just like
it never stops.
Just looking at each other like we're going to war. You know?
It literally never stops. It's crazy.
But I kind of wanted to like ask you questions and have you talk the most, even though I know that's not your style. But
yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah, I want to hear about you first, and big portion of the podcast is about winning and bringing winners on, whether that looks like the strongest girl or a good salesman or a good leader. I guess first to ask, like, why are you a winner? Like, what makes you want to win in the first place?
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I really ask myself that question a lot, because I'm a competitive person, but it's not everything to me. I'm okay like letting people win sometimes, like, and I'm okay losing. I think like more of what it is like, and like we've talked about this a little bit, is like almost like a spiritual obligation to, and like John talks about this all the time, close the gap between like who you are now and who you are at your best self. And it just so happens, like, luckily we get to work in a job that provides the opportunity to close that gap every year and to like raise the bar just in general of the way you view yourself. So yeah, like winning for me is just, it's just closing that gap. It's a competition with myself more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like nothing more beautiful than seeing people close that gap. Like with you, I've seen the most insane gap closing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just like something spiritual to watch. Like recognize yourself going through it, and also recognizing someone else go through it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this too, so people know. Like me and Tyson were 2 Golden Doors together this last year on our team. We're the 2 Golden Doors on our team, and we literally were like boots on the ground the whole summer. There was no breaks for either of us, and through my darkest, through my darkest periods, like Tyson's like, yeah, he's seen it all. So there's very few people that have been there, like even like especially the summer of everything that happened through me. Tyson was like the guy that's potting up with me in Denver when I'm like suicidal, when I'm like trying to finish the goal. He's the guy that I'm talking to. He's the guy that I'm actually following in the summer, because I came in probably with a little bit of pride, thinking, you know, I'll just do it. And then I just watched the consistent behavior of Tyson. And as I watched Tyson's consistent behavior, I was like, oh. So subconsciously, I followed Tyson the whole summer without me really realizing it until after the summer. I was like, I was always following Tyson.
Dude.
Which is such a, like, so amazing to have a best friend and actually see him as a leader. You know, it's cool. But to you, it's you're so consistent. You're everything that I'm not, truly. But your consistency is always something that I'm like, how is he? For you, where does that come from? Like your consistent nature?
It's funny. So like growing up, and like my family might listen to this, but growing up, like my brothers would fight with my parents a lot, or just, I don't know, like random stuff would happen. My parents are like the sweetest people, like great family, like we're all awesome now. But I just remember like seeing people like fight, and like seeing like some contention and being like, oh, like I just want to be like someone that's like peaceful. And like sometimes you have to like be willing to like almost like humble yourself and just be like, I'm going to give this person like their light. I'm going to let them talk. I'm just going to listen to them. And like, yeah, I think that just kind of developed growing up. Mm-hmm. And it's translated into like most parts of my life. Like I don't need a spotlight. I actually don't really like enjoy it a ton. Like discussing like this and like acting like I'm like someone like so special like is like hard for me. Mm-hmm. Even after doing something that like undeniably is very difficult, like getting the Golden Door. I'm like, yeah, like I got it, but like I'm just like a regular guy. Like you almost, I don't know. It's like it's almost like hard for me sometimes, which is something I admire about you. Like you're very confident in like being yourself and like owning the light that you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you ever feel a sense of like we talk about like the why triangle always, and it's something that I've talked about with a couple guests, because I think it's like everything. Mm-hmm. It's how we live our life.
Oh yeah,
those 3 things. I want to like hear. I've never asked you this, but I want to like hear all 3 aspects. So the build off of the why triangle is essentially, for people listening, it's your people, your revenge, and then your dreams. And when you have those 3 things together, you naturally just have a why, and then the how and the what become the relevant. So starting with your people,
Yeah, as far as my people go, this one moves the needle for me like tons and tons. It's like anyone that joins my inner circle, like I have a tremendous amount of like love for that person. That's why like being on a sales team, like having you on our team, all of like our best friends on our team, like I actually feel such a level of like spiritual obligation to show up for everybody that I'm like extremely motivated by people. And like I think there's nothing more powerful than like carrying good relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as my people go, it's like anyone I work with, anyone in my like close proximity. So it's like you, it's Dodge, it's Caleb, it's all my friends I care for.
Mm-hmm.
It's also my family and the Fotheringham name. Like I know you've talked about how like the Tully name means like tons for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my people are probably one of the greatest motivators in that triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Because like going to some of the other stuff, like it's funny, like the revenge section of it is like for the longest time I was like, yeah, I'm trying to like figure out like I'm just not like that angry of a person. I'm like if people are talking about this revenge or like keeping tabs about people that like talk smack on them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, for me, like I think my revenge was like almost to myself in a sense. Like my revenge was disproving like any like negative self-belief that I had in myself or like this self-narrative that I didn't like. It was almost outperforming that was part of my why. So like revenge and people. And then, yeah, I guess, what's the other? Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as like dreams go, we're both members of the church. It's like a huge thing for me is just family. My dreams are to be able to provide for them, have unlimited experiences that just change our life together. I think like the greatest currency is just like smiles and like laughs with friends.
That's such a dope line. Whoa.
I think it's the only thing that'll actually like matter in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So my dream is just to be able to provide a life that like collects the most of that currency.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's vacations, whatever we're gonna do.
Wow.
Be sick.
So dope. It's so cool. That's like actually crazy. Say that again. The greatest currency is smiles.
Yeah, the greatest currency is smiles and laughs.
So
I believe that. Like, you go on a vacation, you go alone. I'm just like, I'm smiling, I'm laughing. I'm not sharing this with anyone.
Yeah.
This is like worthless for me.
Uh-huh.
But like that in between two people, I think it's priceless.
It is.
That's what it's all about.
It's literally what it is. It's such like a breath of fresh air because we're so different in like most ways, I would say.
Yeah.
Like you go.
If Noah's the dark energy,
Like,
I'm just like
the revenge. He's like I don't really. Where my revenge is like I'm like ready to tear
every
off the
school
roof.
teacher that's like ever said anything.
Every person that I remember hesitating, talking about me.
Yeah. You have a whole notes tab of like names, and I'm just like, not that mad at anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess it's me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's worked. It's worked super well.
Why do you think what makes us? I mean, together. It's literally everything, and I want to go through this with people too. So like, it's literally everything. It's not just like we are so different in like the things I love. Tyson doesn't even resonate. The things Tyson love, I don't even like. I'm not like you like hiking. Like you actually like that.
You take me shopping, and I'm just like, bruh.
I don't want to be here.
I am tired. Like, we've been here for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah. Like,
oh, their pants. Get them.
So I like fashion. I like, these things, these maybe more luxurious. And Tyson's like, yeah. I'm good with 3 pairs of pants, 4 shirts, and 2 pairs of shoes for the next 5 years, and I'll be chilling.
You see my closet in Hawaii? I got like 6 shirts to my name.
Oh, yeah.
I like it that way.
Where does that come from?
I don't know.
Like the simplicity of you and how you choose to be. Because it's not even choose. Yeah. You just are. Where does that,
Yeah. I think I've just always loved like keeping things simple. Like I feel better when things are simple. Mm-hmm. Like even like probably the one, like the most common topics that like I end up talking to people about is like always gospel related.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't like to think about like all of the like nitty gritty. I don't like to think about the deep stuff. Like I like to think of like the few pillar things that are important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I can like build from there. And like I'll hold on to things that are like important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm not gonna like make something complicated that doesn't have to be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like most of the stuff in my life kind of revolves around that. It's like a skill that I use in sales as well. Like I don't get overwhelmed very often because I can just break things into like really simplistic thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it always comes off as like, I'm just a chill dude, which I am, but that's just like how I just have always been that way.
Do you think it's like also like the perspective you have? Like the further, does that tap into your ability to not be overwhelmed and keep it simple of like your perspective of really life, eternal life, or just in general?
Oh yeah, it's like genuinely like I don't try to like fake this like facade of being like stoic or like not getting stirred up. That's just like how I like view life. And sometimes like cuz you'll share with me like thoughts that you've had like experiencing like some OCD or like I'll talk to other friends about things and I'm like I've like never had a thought pattern like that I can recall. Or like maybe I'm just blocking out of my head, but I'm like that like genuinely the lens I view things in is typically pretty simple. But I really enjoy like deep diving into other people's thoughts. Like hearing some of yours, I'm just like, that is so authentic and different than what I think. That's crazy.
I wish it wasn't
so
authentic.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm like, I don't think they're authentic. I think some of my thoughts are just not authentic. They're bad. I shouldn't be having these, you know?
Yeah, but like it's just so you, and like it's always like there's something so beautiful. Like there's this book called Creative Act. It talks about the art behind like truly seeing the world through someone else's eyes. And I think like the more I've done that, meeting extremely successful people like you and working with Skylar, Brock, like all of the like closest people to us, John, people you've had on the podcast, I'm like, wow, there's something incredible about viewing the world through your eyes. Like that is like actually insane. Because my view is not that. It is so different. But like that's so sick for you. I'm stoked.
Well, do you feel like you take aspects of people's lenses, and do you feel like you ever change? Like how, for example, this year, how have you changed from last year? Like what are some of your biggest points that you've changed in the last year?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've changed a lot. Honestly, dude, like you've changed me tons. Me and Noah were hooked together hip to hip for 5 months of the year, like in the darkest, like not dark. It wasn't like
Some was dark. Probably for you too. I'm sure you, and that's what I want to dive.
Yeah.
But sorry, keep going.
Yeah, like it was like a ton of like work pressure and like growing pains that we went through together. And yeah, dude, like definitely I love bits and pieces of people's lenses, and I hope to like adopt the good ones I can. And like this summer, like Noah's probably one of the most like confident people you'll ever meet. Like if you talk to him, you're like, whoa, dude, this guy, like it makes sense why this guy's a good salesman. Like he could tell me this liquid death is gonna give me a 6-pack, and I would just believe him. Like he has no valid reason besides like his like oozing confidence, but like I believe I'll get a 6-pack. I believe this guy. So like being around you, yeah, it's changed my life. It's made me more confident for sure. Yeah, Noah makes things fun too. Like there's being around people that have high energy. You can't help but like absorb that energy. Like I don't know. Have you ever read the book The Coffee Bean?
No, you've told me about this one.
It's so sick. It talks
You're
about
always dropping books too. In our conversation. You ever read this? I'm like, nope. You ever read this? This is where we're different too. I'm like, nope.
I love it.
We're sitting in an investment meeting before this, and Tyson just got his notes out. He's like listening to people. I'm like,
Noah's on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram DMing a girl. I'm just like, and I'm just like, What am I doing here? I don't understand. Just here's money, invest it.
We're different. We're different in every sense.
Literally
but like,
every sense. But somehow we're
it's perfect.
almost the same.
We have the same. We share why, which I think is like, yeah, we love grit, bro.
Yeah.
I love grit.
Grit is like sacred.
Yeah.
It's the sense of sacred nature of being gritty, and like our text messages throughout the summer are just like
They're outrageous.
just like every day.
Dude, and I live
you.
for it.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
the
like
funnest.
The kind of texts are like, I promise you I am going all out. I
Yeah.
promise.
It's
like
like I will die before I don't try my hardest right now. And it's like something that you rarely get to experience. And like, also I know when Noah says that stuff, like he means it. And I'm like, whoa, like I feel energy coming off this text. Like I want to rip it back to him. And it's like,
it's just this back and forth energy, and
yeah,
it's like, I don't know, I feel this, but it's like, even though, I mean, you did it before I ever came into the picture, but it's like this summer, it was like that sense of like no Noah without Tyson, no Tyson without Noah.
dude,
It was just like,
huge blessing.
it's dope. Bro, I just hopped a fence.
Holy. Yeah, I threw my Segway over a fence. You're gonna have to.
My elbow.
You're gonna have to pick me up on this construction side that's got an open hole in the gate, and you're just like, whoa. I can't. I don't know what amount of money they're paying you to do this type of stuff, but it's not enough. It's crazy.
It's sick. It's dope.
It was so fun.
For you, what's like looking at this year, because we're kind of wrapping up like 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone kind of has, like we talked about last night, everyone kind of has what's the word? Myogi? It's like, do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone kind of
Yeah.
has a principle that they took from 2024.
From the year, yeah.
So for me, 2023, it was like a lot of grace. I learned a lot about grace.
Mm-hmm.
2024 was like, I learned a lot about grit. Like, and I learned about figuring it out. For you, looking back at 2024, what is like your principle? What is like things that you took?
So, yeah, I think anytime you're under like an intense amount of pressure, you kind of find those like things that are gonna like push you to a new level of growth. That's why I love the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mine for sure happened in the summer, and like Noah talked about in the intro, like this is my second year doing a Golden Door. Crazy. It was like a completely different experience for me. It was like one of the most, like I could like start crying like talking about it. But I'm gonna keep it together.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
oh, I know you are.
Year one, it was all about me. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done, whatever the cost. Like, I will work till I die, and like got it done. Year 2 came around, and it was all about like, one, it was all about like making sure like Noah was in the best spot to hit it. I was like, I'm doing this for someone else, and like that completely changes everything. But I would say like the biggest like takeaway coming from that was like I was like so like excited, like the whole like I was like process present, if there was like a way to say it, like the whole process of the Golden Door, and like all the pain and like all like the hardest moments. I was just like so happy that it was happening. I was like, oh, like I know what the price like we have to pay is, and like I know we're paying it right now. This is so sick. So like I think my takeaway from the year is just to be like, be goal oriented, but be process present like the whole time you do it. Cause you're going to hit the goal inevitably. Like you'll hit the goal and like, it'll be sick for a little bit. And then the moment 5 minutes goes by and it dies, and you're like, oh dude, like you like reflect back and it's like, oh, it was all about the process. It wasn't about like XYZ getting something done, making $1 million. Like it was about like the journey doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So like the goal and what I hope to carry to this year is just same thing. It's like be process present, be goal oriented, but process present the
and
entire
you feel like
time.
that was what 2024 kind of like?
So much. It was like, yeah, dude, I actually can say it was one of like the best years of my life. Like you talk about it and I'm just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, that's like spiritually just so beyond measurable for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's amazing. That is actually one of the gems. Process, present, but goal orientated. But
Yeah.
living, I remember you in Denver when I was in Denver alone. No one from our team. I'm literally all alone.
Sorry about that, bro.
Yeah, no. I got a call from Tyson a week before I was supposed to hit my golden door. I'm cooking. It's one of my best weeks of the summer. I'm coming off just like Tyson calls me. You're not gonna like this. I go.
That was a tough one for me, bro.
I go. Oh no. I'm like, what? Because, well, you're going to Denver. It's gonna be great. I'm like, whoa.
That was a bomb of a phone call.
I was like, oh, fourth market.
Tough.
I'm like,
that was tough to get out.
But I remember you always told me that whole 2 weeks I was in Denver, you kept being like, dude, like, I know it's hard. Just try to like embrace it and enjoy what you're doing right now. Because you know how it is when you get to the end of your goal.
You can't even see anything.
Everything is like, I talked about this on the landing pad this morning, is like a cancel happens and you're like,
it's life or death, dude. It feels like someone like stabbed you.
Every day is like a year towards the end of your goal. You're like, you're like crawling, and it's like,
dude, the last mile of the marathon, like every step hurts. It's like the same pain, but way gnarlier.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's something like subconsciously knowing that, like I'm about to get here, and opposition just cranks up towards the end of greatness. Like you understand that more than anyone, especially now. It's like when something amazing is about to happen, like opposition just creeps into your head. Mm-hmm. Like any time like something amazing is gonna happen. That's why you always hear like people being like, oh yeah, like I'm about to go on my mission, all this like temptation. It's like you're about to go do something amazing, you're about to change people's lives. Of course, like opposition like creeps into that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's super, super true in this scenario. It's just so hard.
It's crazy. When did you learn to enjoy opposition? Like, there's always kind of like a time in life where you kind of like, kind of like a time where you're like, I'm kind of sick, but I kind of like.
I like this.
I kind of like this.
Like it hurts.
Ooh. Yeah. Like when do you remember where you kind of? When do you remember that you were? Because as much as you say, "Oh, I'm just a normal guy," there is a moment kind of in your life where you kind of was like, maybe I'm a little bit different than a lot of people.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. The only person I've told this story really is Jacob. Mm-hmm. Meinzer, one of our roommates, and I got like way good friends. But he was asking me, he's like, dude, like when did you like learn grit or whatever? Like we always just call it grit or like powering through opposition. And I was like, dude, I was like as a little kid, and like I don't even talk about this with anyone, but it was like I was a terrible speller, like just bad, dude. Like all of my siblings would take like, you know how they did the spelling tests or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would do like, they would take the spelling test. None of them would study. They'd pass it. Just so easy. Like, dude, I couldn't spell anything that I didn't study. Like, it was just so tough for me.
Mm-hmm. What age are you?
Yeah, I'm probably like, I don't know, like 10 is when I like remember this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like humiliating. I was like, I don't want to take these tests because they're going to pass them back out. People are going to see that I got a bad grade on it. Like, this is terrible. Uh-huh. And like my mom, she's my hero, but she just like worked with me so much. She like explained to me like, okay, like there's two options here. You're a bad speller and like you just like live with that, or like we can work through this together. Like I'm going to help you. Mm-hmm. And like you can become a good speller. Like you'll get this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, looks like I'm going to do it. And ended up like, I'm still not a good speller, but like I can get everything out. Now we have autocorrect, bless up. It's so freaking nice. Yeah. But like that was the first like gritty experience where I was like, and I would look around, I was like, dude, no one else had to work for this. Like I had to work for this. Mm-hmm. And that was like, it's actually like a life-changing experience for me. It's like, yeah, blessing in disguise. I hated it. Hated every second of it when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
But
And it kind of built a foundation from there of just learning to figure it out. Because that's one thing you
Yeah.
always talk about is just figuring it out.
oh yeah, yeah.
And what, I guess for you, like in the idea of figuring things out, what are some other things that you've just had to figure out? Not just sales orientated, just like life.
Just like
What
life.
are some things that you were just like, oh,
I'm
I
not
got
good at
two
this.
options. I can collapse, or I'm just gonna figure this out. Like, what are some other things?
Like Spanish was really hard for me. Like learning Spanish on my
Mhm.
mission. And I would say like now, like I'm on like the better end of Spanish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember getting in the MTC and like studying my little book. People are already busting out prayers and like they're just memorizing things so easy. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I like, unless I write this word out like 10 times handwritten,
Mm-hmm.
I will not memorize it. So like my notebook was just like just full. So like that was huge for me. Like another time I remember it happening was like our senior year of lacrosse. We just didn't have a goalie. He got like injured, and everyone's like, "All right, well we gotta like figure out like who's gonna be goalie." And for some reason I got picked. I don't know why the frick I got picked.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "All right, like I'm like skinny. Is this like adding up?" I'm like, we want the skinny guy in here? Okay. And I like, yeah, like it was the same thing. I was like, all right, I'm the goalie. Like I got to figure this out. And I've told you this, like I don't tell anyone this, but like there was like a few months, it's not like a big deal. There was like a few months where I was like, had the number one save percentage in like all like the states. And I was like, dang, like this is kind of like working out. And then like, yeah, it's just compounding effect of like,
Wasn't there a story about you like just, all right, no one's scoring? I'll go score.
Oh yeah, there was one game like, yeah, it's called going like coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
You make the save and then you take it down and like score on the other goal. One of the most like goated feelings of my life. But
Tell
yeah,
that story. That's crazy.
Anyway, it's pretty short. But the guy like shot it, I caught it, and what you do is you like proceed up the field till someone's open.
Weren't you like tired of people like nothing was happening and you were just like, ugh?
Yeah, it was just a slow game. Like no one was scoring. Like from what I can remember, it was just like it had just been dead. Like nothing was moving. So I'm like, all right, bro. Like if this is what it takes, I'm just gonna run my ass from this side of the field to that side of the field, and I'll just put this thing in. And like I just start running down the field, and like I'm like, all right, no one's open. I'm like, okay, I'm crossing the half field marker. I'm like, still nobody's open. I'm like, damn, people might look at me weird when I shoot this. And then
You have the big.
I got the big ass like net. I'm like, whoom, butterfly net. And then I finally get to the other end. I'm like, all right, I'm shooting this thing. I'm here. Boom, shoot it, stick like the top corner. I was like, yeah, that was like a 10 moment of life for me. I was just, yes. Yeah, I would love
crazy.
to relive that. It was sick.
Well, talking about 10 moments, that story I feel like just reflects you because
Yeah, I love that.
your ability to like figure it out, but not overcomplicate the idea of figuring it out.
Mm.
You know, where some people can figure it out, but it's more of a complex like
Yeah.
figuring it, but they still do. But you just like, okay, A to B, I just gotta cross the line. Okay, no one's there. I'm at the end. I shoot it. It's in. Dope. I score.
That is how that's actually like perfect. Yeah.
That's like the way.
That's so funny.
The way you process figuring out is different than a lot of people and most people, in my opinion, of your ability to figure it out. But like you talk about 10 moments. But I wanted to dive into let's dive into the 10 moments. Like if you could just sit here and be like, okay, what are some 5-10 moments that you remember? What are some 10 moments in your life? Like,
oh, dude, I love this.
and why? Why are they the 10 moments?
Oh yeah, like I was thinking like, you know, when we do the Tony Robbins priming,
Mm-hmm.
he walks through like the greatest moments of life.
Yeah.
The ones like I can like immediately walk through in my head is like returning home after 2 years being gone in Peru,
Mm-hmm.
and like hugging my mother. That was like the most like spiritual, like it's so hard to even like put in words like the amount of love you just feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll always just like ring in my head when I think of 10 moments. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so hugging my mom after the mission.
Your mission wasn't easy.
No, it was extremely hard. Like, yeah, health wise, it was just not good.
You had a brain tumor.
Yeah, I had a tumor
I'm
in my
gonna
head.
say it because no one will say it, but you won't say it. But
Yeah, and I try not to I don't want like a pity party on that stuff ever. So like I try not to talk about it. But like negative testosterone, I was like super unhealthy. Return home and like see my mother for the first time, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so skinny," and I was like, "Oh my gosh," it's like seeing a doctor. I'm like, "Oh my, finally like someone that like loves me and will help me." But yeah, 10 out of 10 moment. And the other one, dude, like the first marathon I ran, that was like a 10 out of 10 moment. Like I had premeditated it. I had like envisioned it, and then it like came to pass.
Yeah.
And then same thing, the Golden Door, like, but like on such a more like extreme level, like premeditated it, thought about it for months, thought about it for years, wrote it in my journal, like put it on like every wallpaper I had so I would see it all the time, and then finally have that like stuff come to reality. Like that's like a 10 moment for me. Like anything that you've thought into existence and then it becomes reality, that connection is just like unreal. So besides that, it's like pretty simple stuff. Like,
well, your 10 moments are always higher than anyone else's 10 moments. Like just driving Prius, Monster,
dude,
good tunes.
oh, I love it, bro.
Those are your 10 moments.
Yeah, my other 10 moments are like cliff jumping and like laying on the rock after and just like drinking a Monster. Like that's like, I love it.
You tap into a joy that I don't think a lot of people can tap into. Like truly. Like it's like your ability to like enjoy the simplest of thing and just be like, this is like amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Where's that derived from? The ability to just like find joy in like the simple things.
Dude, it was actually because of my mission, because of this brain tumor. Like talk about blessings in disguise, like however you want to view it. But I was so like my hormones were so messed up from this tumor in my head that I became like really like aware of thoughts I was having.
I didn't even recognize you. Like
I looked like a little kid.
I met you 3-4 years ago. You look completely different. Everything about you is different than like 3-4 years ago.
I looked like a kid. I felt like a zombie. Like it was, it was super tough for me. But I became like super conscious of like the thoughts I was having. I was like, I really need to control this narrative in my head, like if I want it to be good.
Yeah.
So it like helped me focus a ton on like being present, being mindful. Like I was just like, I think mindfulness is like so beautiful. By the time like my hormones were fixed and like things started to work like the way they should be working, I was like, oh my gosh, like these things I took for granted are like pieces of art, like driving a car and like drinking a drink I like is like a one-of-one experience. Like I love this. It's like beautiful. But it's because of like the neglected health that I had for, it was like a 5-year process fixing that. Dude, I'm so blessed to feel good again. You know, you went through tons of health issues in the summer.
Yeah, still am.
Yeah.
And that's what talking about inspires me, because I'm like, ooh, like I'm excited to feel like that, like what you feel. And like being around you, I'm like, oh, I can feel happy. Like this doesn't have to be so complex. Like, you know, like everything can be more joyful, more simple, which is dope. And I remember asking you this in Costa Rica. It's kind of funny. This is a story too for people. Tyson's just so, even though he doesn't like being called stoic, he just is naturally without trying. Like it's just kind of his aura. And he's just like, always seems like I saw Tyson maybe flustered like handful of times, like 5 times in the summer. Just like, I'm like flustered every week, like, like, bro, like 100 times just, but we both figure it out, you know, despite however it looks, we both
get done.
But like, I remember in Costa Rica, you got like really sick or whatever.
Oh,
and everyone's like, yeah.
Everyone's just so stoked.
We're like, yes. Tyson's Struggling, yes. It's dope.
So funny.
But we talk about 10 moments. And I know you're really positive, and I know you don't talk about the hard things that much because maybe your perspective taints those hard things.
Yeah.
But what are like some of the zero moments that you can remember and learning from those zero moments?
It's crazy because like the zero moments are what like have propelled any growth that I've ever had in my life. So that in itself has changed my perspective on like zero moments. Like zero moments were like being that little kid and like being teased for not being a good speller. And like I remember like my teacher making fun of me in front of the class, and it was a zero, like for sure. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like I'm humiliated. But then looking back on it, I'm like, oh, what a blessing. This changed my life. This taught me like not to fold in pressure. This taught me to like work through it. Like you have the option to not like fold to this. You're not ever a victim. That's like a mindset. But yeah, dude, I feel like that was a zero moment. And I'm trying to think of other things that were just extremely hard. Like
Obviously the brain tumor was
the
really
brain
hard.
tumor was pretty low. Like getting the news from the doctor, like the way they rolled it out was like really rough too. Like they led by telling me brain tumor, and they didn't frame it or box it in any way. It was like they could have been like, yeah, it's like not cancerous, blah blah blah, all this stuff's chill. It was like, hey, by the way, we think you have a brain tumor. We'll get you more info pretty soon. They hung up. That was a zero, bro. Like having that convo with my parents. I remember like I'm in my car, and like I hung up the phone, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta go tell my mom I have a brain tumor, and I guess my dad. And it was like one of those moments I walk in, like I tell them, they try to be chill, which like they're not gonna be chill in that sense. And it was like, yeah, that was a zero. But then every time I'm like, what a blessing in disguise. Like I value health over anything now. Like I eat very healthy.
Very.
I have like a good mental space, like relatively speaking, and like I credit most of that stuff to the zero moment.
So the zero moments create the 10 moments ultimately.
Yeah. Oh, like 100%. Like that other book, you know this one, the obstacle is the way. That book changed my life.
What are some other zero moments, do you think?
Other zeros. Trying to think. I don't know, dude. I guess it's easy to block some of that stuff out too. Like sometimes, and also this is probably like a benefit to having a simple mind is like, I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't really remember what like motivated me to like try really hard at this. And then you can think deeply, and it's like, oh, maybe it was like some like deep level of insecurity that like eventually I just like kind of grew over. But yeah, I don't remember like tons of the zeros. Like
Which is your superpower.
Yeah, maybe I'm just like preferring to look at the better side of it. Like, of course they happen. I just like can't really remember.
Like,
and I'm not even like trying to.
Yeah, and we can cut this out if you don't want this on the podcast. But I remember like in the summer, like the news about your brother too.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
How did, like I don't know. Like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. Like, it's like talk about that if you're willing to, and just what kind of happened, and maybe about your brother, and like how that happened middle side. Because I remember just sitting in the car. I think it was like a Sunday. It was after like we went downtown or something like that. I can't even remember. After a long day of work or something. I remember sitting there, and you got the call, and I was just like, and then you just hung up the phone. You're a little bit. It looked like you were about to cry, but it was like, whoa, what is happening? Yeah. And you kind of told me, and I was like, still, like, that's one of the most overlooked things of the summer is like that happened, and the next day you're back into like talk about that and that whole thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right,
It's crazy that you don't even remember
I'll
that.
I'll keep it together. Yeah, I don't like yeah, it's crazy. I really don't think about it, but like so my brother is like he struggled with heroin addiction, specifically heroin, but all sorts of like hard drugs. Like all of my growing up, like I've always known that he struggled with drugs. Like that was like huge. And like he's been in and out of like jail a few times. And he was clean for like over a year before this happening. But pretty much me and Noah were out there during the summer, and I remember like just getting a text from my mom like, "Hey, like when you're free, give us a call. Like Lance isn't doing super good." And Lance is my brother that struggles with drugs. And I was just like, I was like, oh man.
Because you probably
this
gotten texts like that before. You probably
I've had texts like that
through
before.
life
Also, every summer when I leave, like it's a thought in my head that like I might not be seeing him again, you know? Like, yeah, that's pretty heavy.
yeah, dude.
But
That's crazy.
it's crazy because yeah, I don't like think about this like, typically. And yeah, I remember getting that phone call. I was just like, oh my gosh, because my mom's like, oh, like, yeah, he had a relapse. His brain's pretty like swollen. We don't really like know the outcomes. He's in the hospital. Like I can give you like a little bit more like info. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is pretty heavy. Like, this is heavy. And then you kind of like think, I'm like, okay, like the things that like keep me like grounded in moments like that. It's like, all right, like this is an aspect of my life. Like I have my brother. I love him. He could pass away. That's like a reality. And like, what are my options like after this? Like, well, my options are like go home and like stop working and like abandon all the people I love, that like all the people I'm doing this for, which is like you and our team. Or like I can like feel bad for myself, or the other option is like keep working, like pursue my dream, be there for like the people I care about. So like in reality, it was like such a blessing to have like so much going on, and like at that point of our life, it was like so much death. I'm like no, I can't like go home and like throw a pity party for myself, even if I feel bad. Like I have all these other people that like I am on like a spiritual journey with, that like I need to see out that like this goes the way like I've promised them. Like, yeah. So it really helped me to have some perspective there. Mm-hmm. But I think as long as you have like a deeper why elsewhere, a lot of the other stuff that happens is a little like easier to cope with. Mm-hmm. Like having something that's like bigger than you that you're working on. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, that was a zero moment. Mm-hmm. Huge blessing.
Yeah,
like
I remember that. Yeah.
He recovered too.
Yeah, and I remember talking when I went over. Your parents are so sweet. I remember like, yeah, talking with your parents for like an hour and a half at your house after the summer. Just sat on your couch in your house without you being there, and I just talked to them for an hour and a half.
They're the sweetest people alive, dude.
Parents are amazing, and I remember they told me all about that, and they gave me a lot more detail, and it's just crazy because it's like no one hears that.
Yeah,
you know, no one knows that. It's not going to be global. I mean, this is probably the first time anyone, other than myself and your family, that knows those kind of things that happened.
You're the only guy in that car, and it's like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, like I could paint this up, and like I could make it like a super sick story of like, oh yeah, my brother almost died. I still got the golden door. Like I led the team, but it's like, it's not like that. It's like, it's so much more of like sharing the glory that's like important to me, and like having the people I love be there. So yeah, I think that's why like things like that just don't like carry value in my head to like go tell everyone about, you know. But huge growing experience.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was so inspiring. I never really got to tell you because your energy is so well maintained. It's like I remember like asking you maybe a couple of days, like,
You good?
You good, brother?
Yeah.
Like, you good? It's like, I'm chill. It's like,
Yeah, it's good.
all right, we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to complicate this, and we won't. And
Yeah.
we didn't, and it happened. It happened, and yeah, and I want to just like once again just talk about how meaningful. It's funny we talk about like when we go on dates with girls, and like when the golden door is brought up or whatever, just that aspect. And it's
Yeah.
like how sacred it is almost in a sense. It's not the award. It's just the ability to do something hard under the hardest of circumstances.
Oh yeah, we see so eye to eye on that. Like it's like, dude, I could care so little about like selling bug spray, and like even like money like doesn't mean like tons to me as long as I have things that like I want.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's just so not about that stuff. That like when you talk about it with like an outside sense, it's like people from the outside
Oh,
in.
so you're just a door-to-door guy. You're just a sales bro.
I'm like, yeah, like I have a hard time even like posting that I did a golden door, because I don't want you to think that I'm like that shallow of a person to make it about the money. Like it means so much. So I'm like, I don't even know if I want to talk about it with people. Like, and that's what we've talked about too.
Mm-hmm.
It's
hard.
It's like hard to talk about because I'm like, dude, it's not like a flex. It's not like a anything. It was
Mm-hmm.
like it was something totally outside of that.
It's a reflection of character.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's almost like recently I've been like girls will ask about it. Oh, I saw it on your Instagram, that golden door. I saw that big golden door. I'm like, yeah, like, did you read the caption?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you read what I don't
Which
want
is
I don't
so
care
good
about
at-
the I don't
that
care
caption
about
is so in depth of like what it means to you.
and yeah, that's kind of like it's like almost like I don't care about being understood.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I'm on a date with a girl and she doesn't get anything from that, I'm like, you see ya. I don't want to continue. It's true.
Yeah.
But it's the people that look beyond the result and appreciate, like you said,
Yeah.
the process
Yeah, dude.
of what did you say? It's the goal orientated, but
Yeah, goal orientated but process present.
positive present.
That was from the GPS. Remember
I don't remember the GPS at all. I was in a bad place.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. But it was one of the subjects we talked about. So like that's not an original quote, but like, yeah, I genuinely believe that is like, that's just what it's all about. Cause like I can tell you, it's like a similar experience that like a lot of people can relate on is like, you come home from 2 years of serving a mission and people are like, oh my gosh, like how was your 2-year mission? And it's like, how much time do you have, sir? Like, do you want me to sit you down and tell you about this like spiritual journey I went on and like being humbled to nothing and like growing from there? Or like, short answer, you're just like, yeah, it was pretty good. Like that's how I feel every time.
It's like when someone comes up, oh, you made a bag this summer. It's
Bruh,
like,
dap you up. You made a bag. I did, bro. And they're just like, dude, like that's so sick. How was it? It was hard, bro. Like those are the words I can get out of my mouth because I don't even.
it was hard, bro.
It was hard, bro. It was really tough. Was it easier the second year? It wasn't. Not at all. And I'm just like, what do you want? Like you want like, do we have time to sit down and I can tell you about like this like spiritual journey I went on and like moved by like all my best friends. And, like, it's just yeah, it was good. I liked it. That's like most of the answers that like come out of my mouth. I feel like
It's like, yeah, it's just the sense of like, I don't even want to look you in the eyes.
yeah.
I'm okay if I don't see you again, just based off your question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So funny.
It really is. It really is. Well, we'll kind of like start to wrap it up, but it's like, yeah, we've had a lot of this conversation, but I'm glad we could dive into a little bit further and a little bit deeper, and that's kind of the purpose of this podcast is to kind of like, it really is like exactly that quote, like, you know, process driven, goal orientated is the meaning of this podcast, is to really be mindful of the process of people's lives. And but I guess like going forward, what are your goals like going forward? Not even just, we can talk sales goals, we can talk summer goals. But where do you kind of walk me through the next 5 years and your goals year by year? Simple. It doesn't have to be anything deep. Maybe summer goals year next, just like anything that you think maybe. And this isn't like he's dropping the bomb. Like the Instagram stories popping up. This summer I'm doing this.
I'm going to do $2 million.
Just so you guys know, this is my goal. Keep me accountable. And then you never hear from them again after the summer. Like whatever you feel, but what are like goals going forward and that kind of thing? Investments or just anything?
I mean, we have this like commercial investment we're closing on. I'm like super excited about it. Once again, it'll be a 10 moment for me because it's something like I've thought about for years and like it's coming to fruition. So
and you're bringing on your best friends, me, John, all these people.
Yeah, like I'm investing with people like I just love and care about, and to watch everyone win all at once. That's gonna be that's one of my huge goals this year. So like to close on that. The other thing is just to like, as far as like the summer goal goes, it's kind of like what you said on the other podcast. It's like whatever makes sense. 'Cause like I'll do another Golden Door. But like I would love to do more. And also like the highest priority for me is like replicating greatness. Like, seeing you get a Golden Door was so much more valuable than myself. And like, if I can help someone else get there and like they can like butterfly effect that, that is like beyond the importance of my own life. That is like so much bigger. So to replicate greatness or getting a Golden Door, whatever metric you want to use for that. And then the other one is just to like become more like logistically minded. Like me and you both struggle with that, like extreme levels. Like
it's like the Instagram reel I sent you. 60% of really good sales reps hate administration or suck at it, and I'm like, holy
anything with numbers, I'm just like, okay, like if this isn't like worth my time, like please just like handle it. But I want to get better at like.
Just drove his car for like 6 months into the summer. Or I mean, for like 3 months, no registration.
Yeah, dude, I was like, at a registration, I was like, oh, I need insurance on this.
So, buddy, we were like sitting with. I can't remember who were in the back of the car, and they're like, oh yeah, you could go to prison. You need that. He's like, you're like, really? Huh, I better do that. You did it like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
At a gas station, I'm like, I got 3 minutes. Hey, man, can we get
register my car?
On this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get way more organized with that stuff. I put it on the back burner a lot. So, but like I look up to people that have that as a skill. Like Skylar's like one of my heroes, and he's dialed. He's dialed on. Yeah. And like you can count on him. So I want to be someone that people can count on. Yeah. Sometimes I'm lacking there. You know that. I can double book on accident.
Yep, it's true. It is true. But. I mean, you already know how I feel about you. I've already told you. And, I'm grateful to have you come on. It's like one of my most prioritized guests was you when I was writing out all the people that I want and all the people I envision. I could get Todd Peterson on here. I could get Casey Baugh on here. I could get, I'll have an NFL player on here. I'll have an NBA player. I could have all these people with status and all this. But, like, people like you, especially you, it's like this is the prized episode. I could care less if anyone listens to it. People will, but I don't care because this is the kind of things that I do this for, is to like be with people I love and to sit down and just have a really genuine good conversation.
Dude, thank you so much.
I always end each podcast with, the podcast is called Grit and Grace, which we've talked about many times, and we've just had so many probably the most talked to person is you the whole year. Like if I had who I've talked to the most
Spotify
in the last
rap.
2020, if we had a Spotify Wrapped, it would be Tyson. Boom. Just like leaps ahead of everyone else. But
not even close.
When you hear Grit and Grace, what do you think of?
I think of like almost separate moments. I think of like grit is figuring it out. It's like not folding to opposition. It's overcoming like toughness, difficult times, and then the grace aspect, I think, is like being lighthearted about things, and like also just like not taking yourself too serious, and like understanding that like when you make mistakes, you're like just being human. And that's why like the two in unison are something beautiful, because it's like the yin yang of life essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so crazy to think like, yeah, if you can be balanced with grit and grace, like happiness is a byproduct.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, once again, thanks for coming on, and that's a wrap for episode 11. Dope.